I will be reporting the second part of the securing information systems. My report will be establishing a management framework for security and control and the technologies and tools. So even with the best security tools, these information systems won't be reliable and secure unless alam ni user kung ano and saan i-deploy ito. So the user needs to know where the company is at risk and kung ano yung mga controls that he must in place to protect the information systems. So information systems controls are both manual and automated. It could these are consist of general and application controls. So general controls govern the design, security, and use of computer programs and the security of data files in general throughout the organization's information technology infrastructure. There are four types of general controls: the software and hardware, the computer operations, data security, systems implementation process. So si software, uh, software controls monitor the use of system software and prevent unauthorized access of software programs. Si hardware controls naman ensure that computer hardware is physically secure and check for equipment malfunction. So example nito is computer hardware should be physically secured so that it can be accessed only by authorized personnel. Pwede ring access to rooms where computers operate should be restricted to computer operations personnel only. Si computer operations controls naman oversee the work of the computer department to ensure that program procedures are consistently and correctly applied to the storage and processing of data. Si data security controls naman ensure that valuable business data files on either disk or tape are not subject to unauthorized access, change or alteration, or destruction. Si systems implementation process naman is all about the audit of the systems development process at various points to ensure that the process is properly controlled and managed. So the other information system control is the application control. So it is specific controls unique to each computer application, such as payroll and order processing applications. So there are three types of application controls: the input, processing, and output controls. Input controls check data for accuracy and completeness when they enter the system. Processing naman establishes the data kung complete and accurate during updating. Meanwhile, the output controls ensure that the results of computer processing are accurate, complete, and properly distributed. So, risk assessment. So, kahit anong company naman, before they commit resources to security and information system control, dapat alam nila yung assets, kung ano yung ipoprotect, and to the extent to which these assets are vulnerable. It is important to remember that not all risks can be anticipated and measured, but most businesses will be able to acquire some understanding of the risk they face. Example na lang nito, if an event is likely to occur no more than once a year, with a maximum of 1,000 pesos lost to the organization, hindi siya wise to spend 20,000 pesos on the design and maintenance of control to protect against the event. Very impractical. However, if the same event could occur at least once a day, with a potential loss of more than 300,000 or a million, and it will only cost you 100,000 on control, uh, it might be entirely appropriate. So after ma-identify yung risk to the systems, the user or the management will need to develop a security policy to protect the company's assets, especially the information systems. So ano ba yung dapat i-kino-consider or ano yung dapat mga questions na dapat to ask? So what are the firm's most important information systems? Kung sino yung nag-generate and kung sino yung nagde-develop nito. And kung ano yung existing security policies in place to protect this information. So security policy is a ranking information risk, identifying acceptable security goals, and identifying the mechanisms for achieving these goals. So we have here acceptable use policy or AUP and authorization policies. So AUP defines as the acceptable uses of the firm's information resources and computing equipment, including the desktop and the laptop, wireless devices, telephones, and the internet. Example na lang is the security policy of Unilever, multinational company. So it requires every employee to use a company-specified device and employ a password or other method of identification when logging into the corporate network. Another naman is the RD authorization policies. So these are policies for identifying and authorizing different categories of system users, specifying what system or portions of system each user is allowed to access, and the processes and technologies for authenticating users and protecting their identities. So as you can see in the illustration, there are two users, di ba? Si Personal Development Clerk and si Divisional Personnel Manager rather. So si Personal Department Clerk has a function such as inputting employee data into the system, and you can update also. Ito, as you can see, yung niya, type of access niya is read and update. Meanwhile, si divisional manager naman, type of access niya is only read only. So, he cannot update yung data file. So, if you're a business owner, dapat you have a plan for events such as power outages or yung um, floods and earthquakes or yung terrorist attacks, yung man-made events that will prevent your information systems in your business from operating. So we have here disaster recovery planning and business continuity planning. Disaster recovery planning devises plans for the restoration of computing and communication services after they have been disrupted. So it plans focus primarily on the technical issues involving in keeping systems up and running, such as which files to back up, the maintenance of backup computer systems or disaster recovery services. Meanwhile, yung business continuity planning naman focuses on how the company restore business operations after a disaster strikes. The business continuity planning identifies critical business processes and determines action for handling the mission critical functions if these systems go down. These are very important. So to ensure business continuity, dapat we have these tools that will help us during downtime. So we have here fault-tolerant computer systems. These are redundant hardware, software, and power supply components to provide continuous and uninterrupted service. Meron din tayong high availability computing, designing to maximize application and system availability. The former uses special software, routines, or self-checking logic built into their circuitry to detect hardware failures and automatically switch to backup device. Meanwhile, the latter helps firms recover quickly from a system crash, whereas fault-tolerant premises continues availability and elimination of recovery time altogether. Meron din tayo ditong load balancing, mirroring, and recovery-oriented computing. So, a load balancing is a method of efficient distribution of network or application traffic across multiple servers in a server. Each load balancer acts as a traffic cap, sitting in front of the servers and routing client requests across all of our servers capable of fulfilling those requests in a manner that maximizes speed and capacity utilization, ensures that no one server is overworked. So if a single server goes down, the load balancer or the traffic cap redirects traffic to the remaining online servers. So therefore, no single server bears too much demand. Kasi nagpapabagal siya. Meanwhile, mirroring or data mirroring refers to the real-time operation of copying data. As in exact copy siya. Recovery-oriented computing naman includes designing systems that recover quickly and implementing capabilities and tools to help operators pinpoint the sources of faults in multi-component systems. So ano naman yung how does the management know that their information system security and control are effective? So uh, dito umaano yung auditing. Ito yung role ni auditing. So there are two types of auditing, the MIS audit and the security audits. Under MIS audit, it examines the firm's overall security environment as well as controls governing individual information systems. So the auditor should trace the flow of sample transactions through the system and perform a test. Meanwhile, a security audits review technologies, procedures, documentation, training, and personnel. So a thorough audit will even simulate an attack or disaster para i-test yung response ng technology, ng information systems, and the business employees. As you can see here, ito yung sample auditor's list of control weaknesses. Under the left side, these are the nature of weakness and impact. So under naman sa right side, ito yung management response. So si Auditor Erickson will provide recommendation to the management. Si management naman is expected to devise a plan for countering the significant weaknesses in controls. So another security technique naman is a access control. So this regulates who or what can view, use, or access a trace or other resources. It is a fundamental concept in physical security and information security, which is designed to minimize risk. So authentication refers to the ability to know that a person is he or she claims to be. It is a process of verifying the identity of the user or a device. There are three types of authentications. Ito, passwords, tokens or smart cards, and biometric authentication. Password, alam ko, familiar na tayo nito, lahat. Ano siya? It is a mix of letters, numbers, and special characters. Yung token naman, it is a physical device similar to an identification card. Designed to prove the identity of the single user. Meanwhile, a smart card is a device about the size of a credit card that contains a chip formatted with access permission. And lastly, yung biometric authentication naman uses systems that read and interpret individual human traits. Pinaka-common dito is yung fingerprints, yung mata, or yung buong mukha, or yung voice. So, technologies and tools for security and control. We have here firewalls, intrusion detection systems, and antivirus software. So, what is or firewall? Firewall prevents unauthorized users from accessing private networks. It acts like a gatekeeper who examines each user's credentials before access is granted. So ano yung ini-identify ni firewall? Kasama dito yung names, yung IP addresses, yung applications, and other characteristics of incoming traffic. Meanwhile, si intrusion detection systems naman generate an alarm if it finds a suspicious or anomalous event. Ito, pinaka-common and familiar din sa atin to, antivirus and anti-spyware. So, these are softwares that check computer systems and drives for the presence of computer viruses or malware nga, and can eliminate the virus of infected area. Example nito are Bitdefender, Avast, Norton, Kaspersky. Yung Wi-Fi Protected Access specification naman is a security protocol designed to create secure wireless networks. So here is an illustration of a corporate firewall. So as you can see, there are two firewalls, the outer and the inner firewall. So the outer firewall protects the web server from internet or provide a protection against outside threats. Kasi si internet kasi is a global network with a variety of information and communication facilities. So para siyang outside networks na ang inner firewall naman is between the web server and the corporate systems. Ito namang LANs or local area networks, ito yung desktop or computers na kung ito ay inside an office or kung saan man siya. Another tool for security and control is encryption. So encryption is the process through which data is encoded so that it remains hidden from or inaccessible to authorized users. It helps protect private information, sensitive data, and can enhance the security of communication between client apps and servers. So there are two types of encryption, the symmetric key encryption and public key encryption. Symmetric key encryption, the sender and receiver establish a secure internet session by creating a single encryption key and sending it to the receiver. So both the sender and receiver share the same key. Meanwhile, the public key encryption naman uses two keys. Ito, public key and the private key. The keys are mathematically related so that the data encrypted with one key can be decrypted using only the other key. So to send and receive messages, si receiver and sender first create separate pairs of private and public keys. Ang public key is kept in directory and the private key must be kept secret. Sino yung magkikip ng private key? Si receiver. There are also two protocols in encryption, the Secure Socket Layer or SSL and its successor, Transport Layer Security, and the Secure Hypertext Transfer Protocol or SHTTP. So ito nga yung illustration, si sender will keep the public key, scrambled message, hash algorithm or para hindi ma-decrypt yung message, then only si recipient with his private key para ma-receive niya yung message. Another tools for security and control are the digital certificates and public key infrastructure. So the data files used to establish the identity of users and electronic assets for protection of online transactions. Meanwhile, PKI naman or public infrastructure use of public key cryptography working with a certificate authority. This is widely used in e-commerce. So ito yung illustration ng digital certificates. The institution or individual requests a certificate over the internet from a certification of authorities. The certificate received from the CA can then be used to validate a transaction with an online merchant or customer. Yan na nga. Another tool and technology naman for security and control is security in the cloud. It is a delivery of different services through the internet. These resources include tools and applications like data storage, servers, databases, networking, and software. Ba't nga ba cloud computing yung tawag sa kanya? It is named as such because information being accessed is found remotely in the cloud or virtual space. So companies like Amazon, Rackspace, or Cisco provide cloud services that enable users to store files and applications in remote servers. It is very important to remember that processing takes place in the cloud. The accountability and responsibility for protection of sensitive data still reside with the company owning that data, not with the companies that provide cloud computing service. Also, users must ensure providers provide adequate protection kung saan yung data stored, kung it meets the corporate requirements, legal privacy laws, and the segregation of data from other clients. This kind of controls can be written into these SLAs or service level agreements. Meron naman tayong tinatawag na securing mobile platforms. So, ngayon nga, mobile devices are performing many of the functions of computers. High-tech na masyado. Thus, they need to be secured by desktops and laptops against malware, theft, accidental loss, or unauthorized access. So, these mobile devices accessing to corporate systems require special protection. In securing these devices, the user or the company should develop a security policy also that include and covers special requirements. And lastly, in ensuring software equality, a key to implementing effective security and controls, organizations can improve system quality and reliability by employing software metrics. So ano ba yung software metrics? These are objective assessments of systems in form of quantified measurements. Examples ito, online response time, number of transactions, and number of payroll checks printed per hour. A good testing begins before a software program is even written by using a walkthrough. It is a review of specification or design document by a small group of people carefully selected based on the skills needed for the particular objective being tested. Kaya meron tayong alpha testing, beta testing, para ma-check kung meron bang bugs or glitches yung software before it is launched or fully launched. So that will be all. Thank you for listening.